Hello everyone and welcome to a special edition of Willow Talk. We'll get back to normal service next week when we review the T20 series in the West Indies. Also have a look at that fourth test between England and India at Old Trafford. Speaking of summers in England, what we're going to do this episode is revisit what was going on exactly 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago to the week that the first test of the 2005 Ashes series began at Lord's. It was one of those where Glenn McGrath said we were going to win 5-0, but the end result wasn't important. What was important, it was some of the best test cricket you will ever see. And what we're going to do now is revisit some of the memories with some of the people involved in that series. Steve Harmison is coming up. Brad Hodge was on that tour as well. He's got some great memories. Michael Kasprowicz, he might bring up the fact that his hand wasn't on the bat at one stage, but that's not important. Again, we all just love the cricket that was played. But we're going to start with the great Brett Lee and his memories of the 2005 Ashes.
The 05 Ashes as well, I've got a couple of other things to bring up, but the 05 Ashes, and it's mind-blowing, it's nearly 20 years on.
Yeah.
So some of our younger listeners might not recall how great it was. I can recall it clearly because all I wanted to do was stay up every night in the middle of winter and watch every ball because it was hypnotising, the whole series to be involved with. Now, you've spoken about the fact that you were around the squad but not in it because Gilly was doing Gilly things, but Bingy, you came up with some of the great moments of the series. So many players did in that series. You got the Flintoff photo. You get Andrew Strauss, producer Sam, wanted to put this in about you got him, and then you really got him with one of the great slower balls of all time when he's expecting one up around his chin again. That series, is it those two things that I've mentioned there, or something else pop out to you?
And I think that's slower ball because it's funny as a fast bowler, you have to have a clear mind. And I was running and going, bouncy Yorker, slow ball.
Genius.
It came off. So it might look on TV like it was planned, but that just literally, like, you're sort of frazzled sometimes. And I don't even know, I didn't even bowl a slow ball like that normally, but it came out. I thought, I couldn't believe I got Straussy. But that 2005 Ashes, I'd probably get stopped in the street 3 or 4 times a week and asked about that 05 Ashes series. And generally their Poms coming up and saying g'day and saying bad luck that you guys lost. That to me still goes down as my favourite test series to play in because of the structure, the intensity. We stupidly, we won the first test from memory at Lord's and we all went in to have a beer with the Poms next door and they'd cleared out. So we sat in their change room and had a few quiet beers.
You sat in their change room?
Yeah, so bad karma.
They got back to him?
It got back to him, but it was just us sort of taking the piss at him. Oh, hey, Freddie, bad luck, mate, type of thing. And then McGrath steps on the ball. We choose to bowl first, which was, I don't know why we did it, but we did it. But that moment where we lost by 2 runs and we thought we had him, and I still remember that day where we're chasing 107 runs to win and all my teammates are standing at the back of the net and they're all laughing, going, this won't take long. So it's me and Warnie going into bat and big zombie can because when you throw him down. And I couldn't hit the bloody ball. And then you got guys like Clark and that laughing. I'm like, piss off you lot. Like, I shouldn't be in this situation. You guys got out and now we have to go and do the hard work, chase 107. And they're laughing at us, right? And I couldn't get back. So I started slogging and I started to get a few out in the middle. And typical Warnie goes, let's get out and let's have some fun. Let's take it as deep as we can take it. Who knows what might happen. The Barmy Army were going off.
Yeah.
You got one little group of Australian contingency called the Fanatics, or Andrew Simons, bless him.
Yeah.
We'll call them the Fantastics because they couldn't spell. So they're over there in the corner. And all of a sudden, we get to, and then Warnie treads on his stumps. And I don't even know how that happened. And then Kaspa walks in, and all of a sudden we get to about 20 runs to win, and the Barmy Army go quiet. And the Fanatics, you start to hear them lift. And Kaspa hit one down a third man, Simon Jones, and dropped it. And I looked at Kaspa and said, this is ours now. We've got this. And you see all the guys on the edge of their seats that, 2 hours before
couldn't move.
2 hours before they come, you guys are shit, you don't last
We thought he won it when he hit the full toss.
I nailed it to deep point and half a metre either side. But as we always do with history of sport, that moment, if it's half metre either side, we would have won 5-0. I promise you, we would have dominated and beat the guys 5-0. We wouldn't be chatting about it today. But a great moment in sport, and then that iconic photo when Freddie came up, put his big mitt around me, and was poking me in the ribs because I had a broken hand from the first test where I got hit by Harmison. I've been hitting the ribs and the elbow. He said, "I'll catch inside for a cold beer." But they've captured that as a spirit of cricket, so I'm really proud about that, and that
should be
a nice moment in sport.
Well, it was an interesting tour for me. That was the first full tour I'd been on with this a great Australian team, and I've been on many tours now as a player and part of the squad, but I've never, ever felt energy of a whole country against one team that I did in the 2005. But going back to that, Kaspa, was it the loss Australia needed? Is that a true statement, or is it one of those, no, you never want to win, lose, you want to win all the time?
Of course you want to win all the time. And then it's not like a football season whereby you've got, it's a loss you had to have to get, just to slap you about so that you're right for the finals. And maybe that was it. It was just that sort of, and there was plenty of times, because there's plenty of times that the Australian side were under the pump, in lots of places, not just in the subcontinent. But you found a way to fight your way through. And the fact of the matter is we just came across this England side who on paper were nowhere near as good, but somehow played out of their skin and found an opportunity. And like Andrew Flintoff, he didn't have a series like that ever again.
With the net sessions, and Hads has always said about the intensity of international cricket in preparation is unlike nothing you experience at state level, for good reason, because you've got a higher calibre of player and they're more cutthroat and they know what they need to do to prepare. How did you find that? Like, obviously we see press conferences, we see what goes out on the middle, but in between test matches, both in New Zealand and trying to get it done there, and you and Brett Lee going for a spot, and then over at the Ashes with all that, the whole country against you, what were some of those net sessions like, and practice sessions, trying to get everyone on the same page pushing in the right direction?
Well, I remember we played some one days first, didn't we, Hads? Where Bangladesh, and some people had some birthday parties in Cardiff, and some people stayed out all night and ended up not playing.
Stretching their hammies on a wheelie bin, all that. Yep.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah. He anyway, but it was sort of one we were under the pump right from the start, and really feeling like, geez, it's not quite there. I remember. And there was even like in the tour games, and there's some media around, and little, I guess as players, you're looking to other players for just advice or help or assistance. You're looking at obviously the coaches that are there. We were quite fortunate where we had Merv Hughes, who was over there in his tour. He was a selector of that Australian side at the period of time as well. He was over there, and so he's come to training, which was a great resource, former great Australian bowler coming here. I know Dizzy was feeling just off a little bit at the time. And anyway, we sort of thought, great, we'll get Merv, we'll line him up and get great next session just before Edgbaston. It was before, I remember the Nets going to just before the game, all set. I know Binger was playing, Dizzy was playing, and also McGrath before he stepped on the ball. So they were all sort of lined up. There was a team, but Merv was sort of all set to, as a resource. Dizzy went over looking for Merv, and all of a sudden Merv wasn't there. And we couldn't find him anywhere. It was sort of a session, everyone's together. Turns out Matthew Hayden pinched him to put balls in the bowling machine for an hour, because Matthew Hayden wanted to hit in the bowling machine. He got Merv, and I'm not saying, I just think that was the wrong use of resource in that side. There was plenty of other hands to feed a ball in a bowling machine. But just those little things, there was a couple those little Barbie things that sort of were happening, and maybe that conspired.
I thought you were going to say Merv was over at the pub across the road having a Tetley's for breakfast. So, anyway, which could have been the case as well on his tour group. But how was that? Was it a rivalry with Brett Lee in those days? Or was it, because it's a weird situation where you're supporting each other, but you're trying to be better than the other guy?
Yeah. Oh, and for me, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't ever felt like that. I just felt if you take the opportunity or get the opportunity, just do your best you can. Of course, being a bowling 150k an hour, had it's extraordinary. As an athlete and everything he did, and knowing that what I was doing was different. So it's up to the selectors to pick the teams, all that sort of stuff. And Bingham was always going to be a star. That sort of pace there. So I think for me, I never felt like that. And same with Dizzy, Pigeon, and even Sean Tait, on that tour. Tait was on that tour as well. He got a little bit injured, but the type of thing where I just found that throughout my whole career, it was all about sharing. And I know certainly for Queensland, going back to, any time to the Queensland team in the 19 seasons I played for Queensland, it was all about going back and just sharing everything to every young fast bowler coming through, and it sort of often makes you a little bit better yourself.
The Ricky Ponting 150 at Old Trafford, only because I ran drinks out to him pretty much the whole 6 hours of that day. Australia were gone. It's only the one result which actually held on for a draw, but the build-up of that, the level of performance that England brought to the table was just the highest level. And to get Australia into a position where they nearly snatched that game and won that game, and there was so much tension and so much... it just looked like one of the hardest knocks that I'd visually seen. So for me, I was there in the moment. It was just an unbelievably tough Australian knock.
Well, you know what, Hodgie? I actually thought that might have been the first one you put out, because if I remember that test match, Clark went down the morning of the day, first day, with a bad back, and you got heckled the whole time in the outfield. Remember, your shirt was a bit too tight around your chest?
I remember it clearly. It was probably the most horrible 2 hours of my life. So, the pupster went off with his traditional sore back, and I ended up at fine leg. I don't even know how I ended up at fine leg, but I was in front of the most horrendous crowd you've ever met. And at the time, me and Hads we're pretty hard on a gym program, and I'd been pumping some serious tin. And I don't know whether it was the amount of chicken that I was eating as well. So my belief is that the chicken over in England is that much juiced up with hormonal growth that my pecs went through the roof. Right, then they're still pretty large, but they're at its highest point. Anyway, there's this dude in this England shirt. He's giving me a pile of shit, saying he came up. Anyway, about an hour, he just disappears. This guy. And about an hour later, he comes back with this life-size blown-up kangaroo with a female bra on the kangaroo with some melons chucked in this bra, yelling out, Hodgie, this is you. Anyway, I'm like devastated. I'm like, where's Pup? I need to get off this field as quickly as possible. It was a horrible experience. And to be fair to this guy, look, I don't know where he went or how he got a hold of this product. He must have dived off into Manchester somewhere, went to the local supermarket. I don't know where he got a life-size kangaroo or a female bra or a couple of melons to stick in there, but that was it. I was devastated. I reckon I didn't speak for, I don't reckon, 3 or 4 days after that.
Hodgie actually played the senior card on me in the 2005-6 Ashes. We had Sean Tait on there trying to get picked, and someone always had to go in and face Tatey mid-game when the game was going on, and Hodgie go, mate, I'm the best fielder. I've got to sit here and Tatey was frightening. I remember, I think we were playing Derbyshire in the nets, and he's bowled a full toss, and they had the steel post, so it's missed the wicket. So I've just sort of dropped my hands and not worried. It came off the steel post and hit me in the rib. So he was a nightmare. But Hodge Adults go, no, someone's got to be here to field Hads. I'm much better than you, and I'm definitely much better than Safrad, so you've got to go.
Well, the good news was he got picked in the third test, didn't he? So that was a positive, I suppose.
Welcome back to Willow Talk. We're revisiting the 2005 Ashes, which 20 years ago to the week, the first test was on at Lords. Australia won that easily, and then it took a kind of turn, didn't it? But the urn stayed in England, and a big reason why was the spearhead of the English attack, Steve Harmison. Harmy joined us on Willow Talk not that long ago to talk about his life in cricket, and a big part of that was the '05 Ashes. Here are his memories.
I still smile when I think about it. I can remember out here in Australia watching it overnight, and I wasn't alone. The TV ratings for like 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't think there's been cricket ratings like it ever again. The grounds were all alive. It was the whole summer came alive over there. It was on free-to-air television over in the UK. But you guys got it right because you hit Australia between the eyes and gave as good as you got. Michael Vaughan was a fantastic leader. But why was the preparation so good? Did you go off and have a camp somewhere, or was it just building all the time when you were playing previous test matches in the lead up to the first test?
Adam, I think we were geared up for it. I've always said about that test series, it was the best players in the world, i.e. Australia had the best players in the world against the best team in the world. And I think at that time when Ricky Ponting's men came to Lords, even though they beat us at Lords, they got to July, we were the best team in the world. We'd gone 4-0, we played against the West Indies in the West Indies. Like the two winters before, we won comfortably in the West Indies. And then that first test match in Jamaica was the first time that Hogarth, Harmison, Flintoff, Jones and Giles bowled together. And we kept going for quite a while and stayed off fitness. Our fitness was good, and we built this bowling attack which could get 20 wickets on any surface. We came back to England, won all seven test matches. We went to South Africa, won 2-1. First team to win over there, away team to win over there after apartheid. We were ready for Australia when Australia arrived. All our players had played a bit of first-class cricket. We played the one days where the telling one was in, I think at the Rose Bowl, the Ageas Bowl now, when the T20 was on. It was the first ever T20. Yeah. And we hit Australia hard, and there was an incident that I think Darren Gough was bowling. He was on a hat trick, and I mean, if you haven't heard that Darren Gough got a hat trick in Sydney, I mean, listen to him. He'll tell you that he got a hat trick in Sydney, and he'll tell you many times as well. So he on hat trick ball against Shane Watson, and we're expecting a big booming. I think the big booming full one, and I think he hit Shane Watson bouncer, and he hit him sort of up here in front of his face. It just basically hit him on the gloves. And Goffey's standing right in front of him, and I think he was more or less muttering to, I can't remember who else was in, and he was like, "That's what you're going to get all summer. That's what's coming for you lot all summer." And Goffey didn't have anything to do with the Ashes in 2005, but I think he was basically saying, England are ready for you. And when we got to Lords, even though we lost that first test, we felt as though we came away from that knowing that we had a bowling attack that could take 20 wickets. And if we could stay in the game from a runs point of view, we had a chance. And I mean, Lords was amazing. It was. Lords is an amazing place. It's one of the unique grounds in world cricket where people that go to watch it aren't really interested in cricket. You've got the members pavilion, the rest of them are there for a social event. It's like, I've been to Ascot, the races, I've been to Wimbledon, the tennis, and I mean, I've had me daft hat on and stupid cravat on and nice fancy dress on, and I've been to Lords. That's it. All you hear is champagne corks. Well, coming from a football background in Ashington, it's not really. They're not my sort of people, and you have to walk through the long room, as we seen last time in the Ashes. There was a little bit of hostility. Normally you get there and it's not cordoned off, it's not roped off. You've got to move people out of the way. I mean, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I've
sorry, old chap. Yeah, sorry, I let you go out and play.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Excuse me, can I get past? And you're like looking at you. What are you doing? Well, I'm playing. You know what I mean? You come here to watch the cricket, and if you don't let me pass, the cricket can't start because I can't go on the field. So, but there was a different buzz and a different hum, and I mean, it's amazing when you hear posh people cheering. It's just a completely different noise altogether. So we go out, and as I mentioned before, Ricky got hit, but I look at that first hour of that Test match, and I've always said Australia were more nervous than what we were. I think Australia knew they were in for a game. They knew they were in for a contest over 7 weeks, and I thought Australia were more nervous than what we were after the ODI series because, I mean, Alfie got hit in the second ball, I think it was, in the elbow, to a ball which 99% of his them type of deliveries in his career, he used to love that little wait for it to come, just sort of ride it, and it flies down to flying leg, and he trots off, and Big Matty comes down your end, and that he made his rotation of strike was comfortable on that. And how many times in their careers, in their illustrious careers, have Punter and Hayden got hit on the head by a fast bowler? Minimal times. And that all happened in six overs. So I always believed that, Ricky very rarely got hit. Matty Hayden very rarely got hit. And same was Langer in that's one of his favourite shots. That all happened within a sort of a 10 over period between me and Hoggard. So I thought Australia were more nervous than we were. They just had somebody that enjoyed bowling at Lords better than what we did, and that was Glenn McGrath.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I remember doing an interview with Mark Nicholas on Channel 4, and me and Glenn were standing on the balcony, and Mark Nicholas had the nerve to ask me, what it was like to bowl at Lords, and how did you enjoy it? And I was sitting there with 5 for 43, I think it was. But Glenn was standing next to me, who was getting his 500th Test wicket, and he had 5 for 8. I think he made my 5 for 43 like 5 for 143. So, I mean, it was an amazing day. The whole day was fantastic. But during that day, we realised that no matter what happens in this Test match, we can compete with Australia because we've got a bowling attack that can take 20 wickets.
And Michael Vaughan, I'm interested to know because all that carnage you spoke about of Australia's unreal top order who are so used to being able to handle that physically and get on with life. I mean, to see Ricky Ponting get hit in the head when he's just about to hit a pull shot, it's like seeing a comet. You just do not see it. But your frame of mind? So you've been chucked the new cherry down the hill at Lords, steaming in, crowd behind you. But is Michael Vaughan the one to get you in the right frame of mind, like him being the leader he is, or was it something else about that entire series that you guys felt like you were all playing above yourself?
We were all ready more than anything else. I think we all had, because the Ashes was in July, we had all had a lot of cricket under our belts. I think I'd played 5 first-class matches for Durham. I think I had something like 30 first-class wickets before I'd played against Australia in the first Test match. Mike Hussey had just come to Durham. He was Durham's captain that summer, and he played well against us in the one days. But we were all ready. We all had a good bowl. Hoggard had overs under his belt. Didn't play a great deal in the one day series. Freddie he had a good one day. He had a good one day series. So we were all ready. Michael knew what buttons to press. When we'll talk about Michael later, but he was an amazing leader I always said he was a great liar, because for the simple fact is he could make you feel 10 foot tall when you weren't feeling great. So you are bowling and you start the over badly, for an example. He had a great way of halfway through the over, just taking you out of the over, talking about nothing really, but taking you out of the negative mindset, get you in a position within 15, 20 seconds to understand what the plan is and where you're going wrong without being sort of patronising. Many times you've got people coming up to you and going, come on, you're bowling well, encouragement, that's great, come on, keep going. But no, I'm not. I've gone for 3 fours. I'm going for 12 and over, you idiot. But he had this great way of understanding how, from an individual point of view, to speak to you, to understand you, to make you feel, a lot better about yourself. And then he would throw the ball back at you. Just remember, you're trying to drag your head forward. Got slips in there for a reason. Don't give him any width. All this stuff to make, and then you go finish the over strongly. So he's a good sort of psychologist. He was brilliant at that. Michael Vaughan was one of the best captains ever because he had the worst pair of hands in the history of the game of cricket. So he had to field at mid on and mid off. He couldn't field anywhere else. No bowler with half a brain cell would have Michael Vaughan in a catching position, because you just knew he wouldn't catch it. So for that reason, he was brilliant, because he had to field at mid on or you had to field at mid off. So he was constantly in dialogue with his bowlers. He was constantly understanding where the game situation is, the angles that somebody was feeling good about themselves. If I wasn't feeling great about myself, he would just come up and, right, let's have 5 minutes, handbrake off. We put a third down, we put fine leg down, we put deep square down, cross seam, just bowl bouncers for sort of 2 or 3 overs. Get yourself back into a bit of rhythm, try and bowl fast. These are little triggers that he used to do with me, and he would do something different with Hogarth, do something different with Simon. So, from a captaincy point of view, that's where he was at. But going into that first test, we were all more or less ready. And I think, if anything, other than Kevin, we got a bit of stage fright as well when it come to the batting side of it. And I think we probably played the occasion. We played Lords, we played McGrath and Warne. Like we probably shouldn't have, and that then obviously changed when we went in Edgbaston.
Well, on Edgbaston, I'm just going to fast. So we could spend the next 42 hours talking about this series because there's so many things that happen, like Glenn McGrath stepping on a ball and all these things. Toss, do you bat, do you bowl? Are they wrong choices in retrospect? But you bowl a ball with Australia all of a sudden whittling that 100 plus to win on the last day, 107 I think it was, down to one shot. You bowl a ball outside off stump, which Brett Lee, well, he didn't quite cream it, but he got it pretty well, but it goes straight to the fielder. Was there any point where all your insides nearly come through your mouth because you go, oh no, what have I done? Because then next ball, I think it was, the Kasprowicz dismissal.
Yeah, it was. It was the conversation with Michael was we've got to get another chance at Kaspa. So we leave Simon out. I think it was Simon that was out there. But when I'd gone for the big in-swinging Yorker, and as per, I must have held the ball the wrong way around, and it went the other way. I mean, it swung right in the middle of Brett's bat. I mean, he was unbelievable in that series. Brett was unbelievable in that series. And in that morning, he was like a voodoo doll. I think me and Andrew Flintoff hit him every part of his body. I think he ran 2 singles out his bat. I mean, he was unbelievable throughout that series. He bowled like the wind. And then him and Warney, arguably two sort of the ones that we were sort of talking about most as a bowling attack, because we had our plans and we knew we'd seen enough footage and played enough against the top order to know where we were trying to get them out. But Warney and Brett in that series were probably more of a headache than somebody like Langer or Martin or than whoever batted at number 6. It was the two of them were like brave, counter. They always came back with a counter punch. And then the night before, obviously with Shane and Brett, and then obviously the morning of, it was amazing. But the build up to that test match was hilarious, because you talk about Michael. We had a meeting Tuesday before Thursday start, and Michael's like, he's come in, and I mean, these numbers now people would laugh at them because the way scoring rates have gone up in 20 years. But if we want to be Australia, we're going to have to score 3.7 and over. And you can see everybody looking at each other going, what? We're going to score 3.7 against this lot? No chance. And then Michael was like, we've got bowlers that can take 20 wickets. We need to score. These lots score at 3.65 or whatever. If we don't score 3.7, we won't win. We've got to score. We've got to be more positive. We've got to be more proactive. We've got to go at Warren when he first comes on, when it's not spinning. We've got to make sure that we're being aggressive towards McGrath. We can't let them bowl at us all day. And a few of us are looking at each other. We left that meeting thinking, we're either going to score 450 in a day, or we're going to get bowled out for 120 with everybody getting caught at like deep point or third man, something like that. And to be fair, obviously when Big Glenn gets injured, Ricky decides that he's going to bowl first on the flattest pitch in 25 years at Edgbaston. When Shane came on at what time, 8 over, 9 over the day, and Strauss, Strauss hit Shane 1 for 6 on the first morning of a test match. I mean, Strauss couldn't get the thing off a square at the time, and he's in for 6. And that was it. This is it. We've found something. We've got Australia's kryptonite. So, I mean, that came from Michael and Duncan. We got 400 in the deer. It was, Shane was very good at swearing, and he was swearing like you'd not believe in that first hour. And we felt as though we had them from there. We had Australia on the back foot from there. So everything that happened at Lords, 400 in a deer on the first morning, without McGrath, potentially out of the series, we are back in it. And then fast forward to the Sunday morning when Australians 107 to win. We need 2 wickets. We think we're going to be on Broad Street in the walkabout bar, Australian bar, about 10 past, 20 past 11, singing 1-1. You know, we got Ashes is coming home. Didn't quite go to plan, but we got there in the end.
Were you first to Kaspa to say unlucky and Brett Lee, or because Andrew Flintoff, obviously, that famous photo with Brett Lee and the sportsmanship of the Century Award that he duly followed, but you were there as well. What happened with all of that? Did you see all that unfold?
I think when obviously we got into this huddle, and then we sort of came out the huddle. I think the first 2 were more or less there were Kaspa and Brett, and I think I'm trying to think there might have been somebody there just before me, but I was definitely there before Andrew Flintoff got his picture taken. But like we've all said many times before, I mean, we could have stood in front of Brett Lee, giving him the bird, singing 1-1 to England, and nobody would have took that picture because obviously they're all waiting on Freddie. He was amazing in that Test match, Andrew. I mean, the over to Ponting, the 50 partnership at the end of, I think, the second innings with Simon, when Fred got big runs, and then even on that last morning, I think I came off for a couple of overs for Ashley Giles, but Fred kept going. I mean, the big fella threw everything into it, and I think that was his coming of age when it come to Ashes cricket, because by his own admission, he said he froze at Lords, and that was his first Ashes Test match. I think the Lords one, and he said he froze at Lords, but wow, he didn't freeze at Edgbaston, and he came back with a bang. And we knew then that this Ashes series is on, it's alive, and we have a great chance.
Third Test, it was a thrilling draw. Even the draws were great in this series. But just want to go to the fourth Test, because just before the break we talked about Andrew Flintoff, one of the biggest characters in English cricket in modern times, and arguably the biggest character in the history of Australian cricket. Shane Warne, obviously sadly not with us, but he played a massive part in this Test match, because even when you look like you have victory all sewn up going into the fourth innings, he gets the ball and starts causing havoc. Now, he did it a couple of years later, definitely at Adelaide, but what was it like in a dressing room when all of a sudden Shane Warne starts getting out the magician hat and bag of tricks come out?
There's a lot of moving parts from a lot of top order batters, trying to get in a comfy position, ready to watch it on the television to see, how it's spinning and the pace that Warney's bowling at. And from a bowler's point of view, it's like watching you talk about a magician and talk about the art and the anxiety in dressing rooms. When you see a quality fast bowler, a real top end fast bowler, just go through a side, the anxiety inside a dressing room is it's frightening. It's hilarious sometimes. People scurrying around. Like I said before, there's a lot of nervousness. And we thought during that time, Australia made the mistake that he didn't open a bowling. 138, I think we needed to win.
129.
129, was it? 129. England are 30 for none. England are 30 for none when Warney comes on, gets a wicket with his first. He get the wicket with his first ball, second ball.
He went bang, really quick.
Yeah. Why is he not opening the bowling? So we couldn't understand why he didn't open the bowling. And Brett bowled unbelievable in that series. He bowled a ball to Flintoff in that series, which probably one of the balls of the series. Ashley Giles bowled a ball to Damien Martin. And they talk about Warney's the greatest ball, Warney's ball to Gattin, and obviously it was to get the ball round Gat is one thing, but Ashley Giles bowled a beauty to Martin in Old Trafford, and it pitched outside legs and hit the top of off stump. But Brett bowled a ball at about 93 mile an hour that just clipped the top of off stump against Freddie at Edgbaston at Trent Bridge. And I must admit, I thought then, wow, that's us done. I mean, if he bowls 4 more of them at Ashley Giles, Matthew Hoggard, Steve Harmison, and Simon Jones, we are not getting any runs. We're not hitting them. It was frightening, but it was like a Monty Python sketch at the end. It just shows you how much Duncan Fletcher thought of my batting. Simon Jones, if you remember right, Simon Jones never played again after that Test match. The famous Gary Pratt run out with Ricky Ponting. I still need to pull Ricky up a bit on that one, because when he was walking off, giving himself a good talking to, and then giving the crowd a bit of a talking to,
and he sprayed Duncan.
He looked up. Yeah, he blamed Duncan. He hammered Duncan. He said Duncan Fletcher was smiling at him, and I'm like, nah. I played 5 years with Duncan Fletcher. I don't think I've seen him smile in 5 years. So, Ricky, you got that one wrong. You did. But if you remember right, Simon Jones couldn't bat. He had to come off the field. He's got one of these medical boots on, these moon boots on. And we're trying to get a Puma pad on Simon Jones to go in at number 10. So it just showed you how much they thought of my batting, because I was number 11. So Simon, obviously Simon would have to have gone in. I think he busted his ankle and never, unfortunately for a big fella, he was never to be seen again. But that was, as Richie Benno used to say, theatre. That's theatre, cricket and theatre. And I think if Shane had opened the bowling, we might have been in a little bit more trouble than what we were in at the end. Hoggy hit the 4 through extra cover. I think it's the only reason it went for 4 is because Brett Lee bowled 95 mile an hour. I mean, Hoggy can't get the thing off the square, and he's managed to get a good piece on a drive, which is, I mean, we blew it over the line because it was just trickling towards extra cover boundary. And I think at that point we knew that was game over. And obviously when Ashley Giles got the winning runs, we are thinking, that's it. We're nearly there.
Yeah, 2-1 up. Did you guys actually like Warnie as an opponent?
Yeah, brilliant. I loved it. I can't remember where we were playing. I was batting with Flintoff, and he was shouting at me to concentrate. I couldn't stop watching him. I mean, I was standing at non-striker's end, just watching him just flick the ball up in the air. It was like there were very, very few people that had an aura about them. Like Shane, there was like a glow around him. There was this glow bubble around Shane Warne. He was iconic, and when he was throwing the ball up at the top of his mark, I mean, I just couldn't stop watching him. It was just beautiful to watch. I'm standing on the field with Shane Warne, talk about right at the top of the show about what Ashes means. I mean, he was Ashes cricket, and I remember Freddie shouting at me, "You watching this game or what?" Because I turned down a single, which was an easy one. I was just watching Warne. I couldn't stop watching him. I was mesmerised by it.
We all were, mate. We all were. So to the Oval, and you're holding this advantage, and in the end you get it done. No thanks to a Kevin Peterson masterclass, who he withstood, I remember late in that game, he withstood one of the quickest, most vicious spells of bowling from Brett Lee I've ever seen. But Kevin Peterson, obviously his personality and his aura almost overshadows his batting ability and what he's known for, and as a teammate. And obviously there's been a lot of talk about what kind of teammate he was from various sections of those who shared a dressing room with him. But at that point in time, what was he like to have in the knowledge, his talent, and it kind of was in full view on that particular day?
Well, I think, like the question right at the very start, what does Ashes cricket mean to you? Let's be fair, Kevin wasn't English, he was South African.
Yep.
And the reason why he was so good was in that series, because he wasn't English, if you know what I mean. His Ashes was 9 months before, when we played South Africa in a one-day series. He got 100 in Bloemfontein. I mean, 25,000 people turned their back on him. And within the fourth ODI, he had his third 100. And they were giving him a standing ovation. But when he took his helmet off in Bloemfontein, we're going, don't kiss the badge, don't kiss the badge. We'll never get out of Bloemfontein if you kiss that badge. And he kissed it, but bang. And he was brilliant. That was his Ashes. He did not believe, he had no fear over Australia. He had no fear of McGrath, didn't understand Ashes cricket like we all did. And that's what made Kevin brilliant in that series. Our bow was in I was in with him both times when he got 50 in the first Test match, and he just leant down the wicket and hit McGraw into the members' pavilion, and I mean, obviously trying to get back on strike, so he's shouting to me, "Run!" And I'm turning around going, "Fucking hell!" Nobody hits McGraw over his head. Let alone your first Test match, let alone your debut. So that was a sample size of something special. And I mean, there was times Edgbaston as well. I mean, Flintoff had a 6-hitting competition in the middle of the afternoon on that first day, and then we went to he came to the fore in the Oval when. I mean, one of the breaks, it might have been lunchtime, and I think Flintoff had just got out, and we were in real trouble. We're in real trouble. And in the English mentality, I think the story goes, I think Kevin must have talked to Varney, and Varney told him just to keep playing the way he's seen it. And I think four balls after tea, or after the break, he slog swept warning to the crowd. And everybody's in raptures. Everybody's going mad. And everybody in the dressing room going, "What is he doing? Just hit the ball straight." I mean, we were like, just keep him out. We're on the verge of winning the Ashes here. If you bat for the next 2 hours, slog sweep 6. Slog sweep 6. And we're like, right. We knew that he was different. We knew there was something special there. And
yeah.
I mean, when you talk about teammates, there was controversy further down the line. But in my time being shared dressing room, I can only say what I felt. I had a great deal of time for Kevin Peterson, a huge amount of respect for him. He was, I thought, during that early period, a good teammate. Later on, the respect level between, I think, obviously Kevin and Graham Swan and one or two others, I think that got stretched. But while Kevin was a young player or a player who had just come into the dressing room, he had a lot of respect for the senior players that were in there. And we never really had too much of an issue with him. But it's always one of them things. If you've got a problem character and he can go score 150 in an Ashes series, I don't really care if he's a problem because he's going to win your games.
You never felt like putting the dye through the hair like he did in that series, or Jimmy Anderson as well. He had a distinct tinge of dark red through his hair. You never went with that one?
No, I didn't. I couldn't think of it. I tried. I mean, it's bad enough sometimes going. Mitch Clayton now, I mean, he's an umpire now in Australia, I think. Mitch Clayton used to be my barber. You know, I used to carry the hair clippers. Yeah, and Mitch
just went to shave.
Yeah, Mitch can put it on guard too and take the whole lot off. It was like Police Academy, wasn't it? That would have been the scene. It was like Police Academy. You know, getting told to go and get your hair cut. Mitch taking the two off, and then Kevin asking for the Mohican with it. It wasn't really high on my agenda, my head at the time. So no, I was quite a simple man from the northeast of England. Kev enjoyed the limelight of London and liked being pictured in the newspapers at the front end, in the nightclub scenes and the social scene. Each to their own. I didn't have a problem with it, but I was never going to chase it like that.
The celebrations have been well talked about, and I'm sure you've done the odd sportsman's lunch where you've talked about the celebrations of that particular victory and going to 10 Downing Street, and there's the famous story of a little bit of relief, much needed relief without the toilet, just in the backyard or the pot plant or wherever it was at 10 Downing. But what was your enduring memory, if you have one, if you can go through all the fog of those raucous couple of days?
It was a brilliant celebration. I don't think it should have happened the next day. It probably shouldn't have happened the next day, but from the sort of wider public, yes, it was something that they wanted as well. I mean, we all thought, right, we're going to go on this bus. There's going to be about 100 people there, and that's just going to be our families. And when you come around the corner in Trafalgar Square, I think the realization of what this series meant, because when you're in the heat of it and you try and detach yourself from it for 7.5 weeks, you know, realize it is big, but not to this sort of scale that was at Trafalgar Square when we got round that corner. It was like, wow, this is mental. This is amazing. It was a photo opportunity for some people who had no interest in cricket whatsoever, i.e. the Prime Minister, you know, the Mayor of London. They got a fright, to be fair, when I mean, Tony Blair went looking for weapons of mass destruction. I think he invited 12 of them, 14 of them to his house that afternoon. It was mad. I mean, it was mad. So when you come all that, we had a great time. We really enjoyed the fact that we were celebrating with the public. I didn't think it should have happened that day. It should have probably happened the next day, because then Australia would have been in the air. Because let's be fair, yes, I'm sure Australia love rubbing England's nose in it when they win. But that series was more than just, I think, a victory. I think the whole series was a victory. Like you said earlier, there was no football on TV, no football on that summer. It was on terrestrial TV. I think there was 8.5 million people watched it in England on that Sunday morning at Edgbaston. Yeah. So for Australia to be beaten by 2-1, by 2 wickets and 2 runs in a close contested series that literally gripped the whole world of cricket. It didn't, I mean, we went through it, but I think when you look back at it, it could have probably been done better from that point of view, but we had a great time. I mean, Freddie hadn't been to bed. I mean, he didn't go to bed I don't think he'd been to bed for like 3 days. So he was on good form. None of us did, to be fair. None of us did. I remember going to reception at about 6:30 in the morning. There was about 4 or 5 lads just sitting in reception. A few lads had gone out and come back. And it was a little bit of just like looking at each other in vacant looks, like, you know, especially the fast bowlers, because we were all vacant. But when you look at each other in such a way, I was like, has that just happened? Have we
like
just
The Hangover?
Well, yeah. Have we just beat this great Australia? Have we just beat this great Australia side? Have we just gone toe to toe with Australia for 7.5 weeks? And
so good.
We have won, haven't we? There was a little bit of disbelief, but yeah, I mean, Downing Street was one thing, Mayor of London's was another photo opportunity. But I mean, Trafalgar Square, to stand on the stage at Trafalgar Square, David Gower gave Andrew Flintoff a microphone and he started singing Elvis in front of about 200,000 people. I mean, he wanted to do that more than probably the 100 that he got at Trent Bridge. But it was a great day. But I think one that could have been done possibly a bit better.
What a time, 2005. It's before we really cared about what the internet could be. And it was a simpler time, it felt like, and it was certainly a great time for Test cricket. But good to see the Ashes rivalry lives on, and certainly will later this year when they get here on Australian soil. And looking forward to this series, looking forward to seeing what happens in Manchester, of course, over there in the Windies. We'll try and locate Hads and catch up with him next week as he island hops around watching a bit of T20 while we freeze our knackers off here in Australia. But good luck to the guy. Anyway, that was memories of the 2005 Ashes series. Back with normal Willow Talks next week. Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.